Why is it that we feel the need as players to go back to Cyberpunk 2077? If you really look at it in terms of open world gaming, this is the pinnacle of open world games right now. The bar is set at Cyberpunk 2077, and everyone else has to try to reach that level. And we'll probably see the bar change, when GTA 6 comes out. But as of right now, Cyberpunk 27 is the game to go back to. And there are a variety of different reasons, but the one reason that I just continue to go back to and really just hone in on is the fact that CD Projekt Red just doesn't waste your time when you're playing Cyberpunk 2077. And I think that's why people gravitate so much about going back to the game. There's a lot of other reasons too. I'm not trying to minimize, you know, the open world itself, the lore that they've built. The gameplay is also extremely important. But really, for myself, especially as I get older, when I'm playing a game, I just want the developer and the game to respect my time, right? I'm not trying to do a bunch of tedious missions that just, are just filler. And, I want to gain something out of playing like a small mission, right? If I don't have a lot of time that day, just to be able to hop on, play a smaller mission, right? It doesn't even have to be a big story beat, but just to be able to play a smaller mission and get enjoyment out of that, and for it to really just expand the world or like add to the lore of the world, it's just really, really important. And when I'm looking back at like certain games that have really just had that effect on me, I look back at games like Skyrim, obviously, right? And people obviously still go back to Skyrim to this day. They mod out Skyrim like crazy. And one of the biggest reasons I think people go back to that game is because Skyrim feels like it doesn't waste your time, right? You get so much out of each little mission, out of going into each little cave, whether it's picking up a new item for yourself, or you know it's building out the lore of the world and of the game itself. And I think that's what CD Projekt Red really got right with Cyberpunk 2077. Other studios really need to just kind of go back to the drawing board and just really approach game development just like this. Like, how do we not waste the player's time, and how do we make things feel rewarding and add to the game? I think one of the first things besides that is really the gameplay. The gameplay is just awesome in this game, right? And what CD Projekt Red has done is throughout the years they've gone ahead and tweaked quality of life improvements, obviously fixed the game from its disastrous launch, but they've really made it so that you can tackle any side mission, main mission in a game so differently, and it feels so refreshing, right? Because every time you play the game, there's a new way that you can kind of um, where you can tackle a situation, right? And a lot of games don't do that. And CD Projekt Red has really just done a great job creating replayability. For myself, this is the second time that I played through Cyberpunk, and I had so much more enjoyment playing it now than I did when I originally played the game. Granted, when I originally played the game, it was during launch, and even though I did play on PC, and at the time was pretty powerful PC, I had a 2080 Ti back in, what was this, 2019, 2020? I don't forgot when this game came out, but at the time it was like top end graphics card. There was still a lot of bugs. I ended up having to drop the game for a little bit because I couldn't get past a story mission where one of the main bosses was stuck in the ground. There was no way for me to kill him. I remember going back to a previous save, getting all the way back up to that point, and the same thing still happened. So I just, I was very disappointed. I dropped the game. And it wasn't because I didn't enjoy the game. What was there, I could see the vision that CD Projekt Red was trying to set out and fulfill. I could see the hard work that studio really put into the game. It's sad because when you don't iron out, these glitches and bugs in the game, it can really just completely tarnish your reputation. And we've already seen that. We saw exactly what happened with that game, right? And so shout out to them though, because they came back and they made sure that they completely fixed this game and turned around the narrative for themselves. And, I don't think excitement could be any higher going into The Witcher 4, right? Especially with where the state of Cyberpunk 2077 is at right now. This game is awesome. It feels rewarding. It feels refreshing. It feels awesome. I can tackle, any situation the way I want to as a player, right? And that feels fun. That feels fun. It feels like I can go back and replay the game again and get a different experience out of it than the other times that I played. And especially for a game that's going to be as big as this game and as open, as open as it is, where a lot of companies or studios where they fall flat on is that over time you get burned out from the game because there's not as much choice in that world, right? To make it refreshing each time you're approaching a mission. And that gets worse as you go on into the game, as you get deeper into the game. And that's what I've really noticed of why Cyberpunk is so different, why Skyrim is so different, right? These games are so different because there's so many different ways that you can tackle, a mission, right? And so it feels refreshing because you don't know really what to expect, right? You don't know, doesn't feel planned out, which is fun. It makes the game really, really fun. So Cyberpunk 2077 in terms of gameplay is just, I have nothing but great things to say about that. CD Projekt Red has just completely outdone themselves with the gameplay in the game. Going on to the world building of this game and setting up the lore, there's obviously data pads everywhere where you can read and gain even more knowledge about like what's going on in Night City and in the world in itself. There's TV screens. Like there was a TV screen playing like something about like the murder rate in Antarctica, which was like in that universe. So it was like, oh, okay, people live in Antarctica now. That's different, right? And it's just little things like that just make that sell you on the world, right? It feels alive. It feels like this is like something that's actually happening, right? That's going on. And CD Projekt Red, even with The Witcher 3, they know how to do this. They know how to just make these worlds where you want to just play in them, right? You want to play in this sandbox and you buy into what their vision is. And again, it's very detailed, and that's really what sells it is the detail in the game, right? Detail is so overlooked by a lot of studios, and if you just take the time to really, I think, just perfect the details, and especially in an open world game where you want your players to feel like they're in this world, it's just so critically important. And I think CD Projekt Red just knows how to do that. And I just hope as time goes on that they don't like water that down, right? I really hope as Witcher 4 comes out, and from what I've seen, it looks amazing. But I really hope that they just continue to just see their past success and really just emphasize on really what works, right? And just expand on that. Yeah, we don't need like a even bigger world than Cyberpunk. I mean, Cyberpunk is massive. Just perfect what you have, right? I think that is so, like, can studios really start following that? Perfect. It doesn't have to be this huge, massive open world just filled with content. Like, make a great open world, perfect it, have details in that open world. That is so important for the buy-in. And people just don't understand that. It's not about how big the open world is. It's about the details in that open world, right? Is there side missions that you feel are rewarding, right? Again, going back to not wasting the player's time, right? That's the worst thing you can do to a consumer is just waste their time. And so CD Projekt Red just knows how to not do that. And so that's a big, big shout out to them. I love this game. This game is great. It's amazing. And I can see why people will continue to go back to this game for years to come. And again, excited for Witcher 4. So let me guys know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you guys end up finding yourselves going back to playing Cyberpunk 2077? What is it to you that makes you come back to this game, right? Is it the universe? Is it the gameplay? Is it maybe you guys agree with me? Is it the fact that you feel like it respects your time. It doesn't waste your time. I mean, you guys know what your thoughts are. Take care. Bye.